Wait, don't skip this. I'm serious. What just dropped out of the Fifth Circuit, combined with a sudden flip from the DOJ and now a shocking pushback, could become one of the biggest turning points in the entire fight over suppressors, the NFA, and your Second Amendment rights. Gun owners across America need to hear this now, because something happened behind the scenes that nobody in the mainstream is talking about. They didn't expect this to happen, and yet here we are standing on the edge of a ruling that could either blow open the door for suppressor freedom across the country or slam it shut harder than ever before. And if you're new here, welcome to 2A Updates, your trusted source for Second Amendment law breakdowns, Supreme Court rulings, and real pro-freedom updates you won't hear anywhere else. Thank you for being here. Your support strengthens this movement, and I don't take a single one of you for granted. I really read every single comment, so don't hesitate to drop your thoughts down below. Stay with us until the end. I promise you this part is critical. So here's what actually happened. A major suppressor case that everybody thought was heading in one direction just flipped in a way that almost no one predicted. In the initial review, a panel inside the Fifth Circuit took the government's side, arguing that suppressors somehow don't qualify as arms under the Second Amendment, basically pretending that an accessory designed to make firearms safer and more controlled is magically outside the heart of the rights we're guaranteed. That ruling alone enraged huge parts of the gun community, because if they're willing to say suppressors aren't arms, what stops them from carving out every other piece of equipment next? But then something unexpected happened. When the DOJ changed hands, the Trump DOJ walked into the same courtroom and said the quiet part out loud. Suppressors are arms. Protected. Covered. They cannot be outright banned. That moment shocked everybody because it went directly against years of the federal government insisting suppressors are some kind of unprotected extra. The flip was massive. It caught courts off guard. It caught the ATF off guard. And it sent the gun control crowd into a panic. But here's the part nobody expected. After admitting suppressors are arms, the DOJ immediately tried to thread the needle. They tried to claim that the NFA can still pile restrictions, taxes, delays, and barriers on those arms because it's not a ban. In other words, they basically said, yes, these items are protected by the Second Amendment, but we still want full control over who can own them and how painful the process will be. This is the hidden angle you deserve to know, and it's exactly why this fight is far from over. Now, that flip triggered something huge. When the case returned to the Fifth Circuit, the three-judge panel doubled down. They upheld the NFA's suppressor restrictions by comparing the NFA, the 9-month, fingerprinted, taxed, background-checked, federal registration system, to a simple shall-issue permit like getting a concealed carry license. They twisted Justice Kavanaugh's words from the Bruin decision, a ruling meant to expand gun rights, and used that to justify the NFA's most burdensome requirements. The logic was unbelievable. The NFA isn't a permit. It's a slow-motion, government-controlled bottleneck designed to discourage ownership. Everyone knows that. And yet they claimed it was modest, objective, and historically consistent. This is where the real danger starts. Because if courts accept the idea that any expensive, slow, taxing, bureaucratic government permission slip can be labeled shall issue, then every anti-gun politician in America just got a blueprint to restrict firearms while pretending they're respecting your rights. This is a turning point for gun owners, and not in a good way. They didn't expect the Fifth Circuit to lean this hard into that argument, but they did. And now the entire case is heading toward an en-banc review with massive national implications. When Peterson, the gun owner in this case, challenged the NFA after the feds raided his home and found a single unregistered solvent trap, his legal team made a simple argument. Suppressors are protected arms, and the NFA violates the Second Amendment. The Fifth Circuit ignored it the first time. They ignored it again the second time. And they did it by pretending the NFA is just a licensing formality. Meanwhile, gun owners know the truth. The NFA is a barrier, a block, a tax designed to make sure the average person gives up before the government ever approved their application. But the most shocking part happened after the petition for full panel review was filed. Everyone wondered, would the DOJ double down on their earlier position? Would they stand by their statement that suppressors are arms? Would they support the move toward en-banc review? Well, not exactly. The DOJ filed a fresh response, and the tone changed again. Suddenly, even after admitting suppressors are arms, they're urging the Fifth Circuit to reject additional review. They're pushing back hard. They're arguing the NFA is fine, that it's constitutional, and that it doesn't violate the Second Amendment because it's supposedly objective. They're trying to stop this case from growing into something larger because they know where it could lead. And here's the hidden angle nobody else is talking about. If the Fifth Circuit grants the review, and if they overturn the current panel, they could end up delivering a ruling that cracks open the entire NFA structure, not just for suppressors, but potentially for SBRs, SBSs, and beyond. The government knows this. That's why the DOJ is now pumping the brakes. They don't want this case becoming the next Bruin-style earthquake. They don't want a court saying, if suppressors are arms, then the NFA must survive strict scrutiny or collapse. They're terrified of that domino effect. And make no mistake, that domino effect is real. Imagine the Supreme Court taking a case like this. Imagine a majority applying Bruin correctly, looking at history, text, and tradition, and realizing there is no founding-era equivalent to the NFA's fingerprints, taxes, wait times, and national registration system. If this case climbs the ladder, the entire NFA could end up on the chopping block. You deserve to know this because it explains exactly why the DOJ is suddenly backtracking, suddenly downplaying, suddenly trying to soften their own earlier statements. Stay with us until the end, because what comes next matters for every single gun owner in the country. If the Fifth Circuit rejects review, the current dangerous ruling becomes the law of the land in that circuit. That means the government now has a court-approved strategy to label any restrictive, punishing, invasive permitting system as modest, as long as they keep the door technically open. But if the Fifth Circuit grants the review, all eyes shift upward, and it could become the most significant suppressor decision in modern history. This fight is far from over. The DOJ is arguing one thing in public, another thing in court, and a completely different thing in practice. They keep claiming suppressors are arms, while simultaneously insisting the government can choke off access to those arms with fees, forms, months of waiting, and federal approval. They didn't expect this case to push them into a corner, but the pressure is building. The movement is watching. The courts are watching. And you better believe politicians are watching too. So, here's my expert interpretation of where this goes next. If the Fifth Circuit grants en banc review, the court will be forced to confront the contradiction head-on. Either suppressors are arms with real constitutional protection, or the NFA is a historical anomaly that can't survive under modern two-way standards. There is no middle ground, and judges know it. If they dodge the issue again, this case goes straight to the Supreme Court, and that's where things get explosive. But if they take it now, we could see the first crack in the NFA's armor since it was written. Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments. This is one of those moments where the community needs to be loud. Thank you for being here. Your support strengthens this entire movement, and it's because of people like you that these cases stay in the light instead of being buried. This is a turning point for gun owners, and the next few months are going to be massive. Stick around, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my next update. The algorithm thinks you'll like it, and you do not want to miss what's coming.